We've been through these sort of up and down economical cycles. We're very familiar with it. We understand how to deal with it. One should not lose sight of the fact that, okay, just because there's a small economical downturn, the whole world will cease. We've seen it historically over the last 10 years, and probably most likely looking at 10 years ahead, there will always be a growth of at least 3.5% to 4% year on year. And I think to be making sure that you're geared up, you've got the right capacity readily available to deal with the market when the tide turns is so critical. From our perspective, we should not get distracted with these smaller blips. We should look at the, as I said, medium to long term that we've been focused on.
We are here in Munich at the Air Cargo Europe and Transport Logistic, one of the world's biggest transport and logistic conferences, exhibitions in the world. And we do a series of interviews from this event. And joining me today in this conversation is Nabil Sultan. Nabil is the Divisional Senior Vice President, Emirates SkyCargo. Nabil, great to have you for this conversation.
Thank you, Reji. It's great to have you here.
It's been 4 years since that we met, something very similar, seating that we done an interview. And since then, we have been doing interviews online. Bring us up to speed with what is going on with Emirates SkyCargo. There's been a lot that's happening at Emirates SkyCargo.
Thank you, Reji, for talking to us. Obviously, I think post-pandemic, there's been a lot happening in our industry. Of course, from Emirates' perspective, we've been looking at a lot of areas to sort of grow and see how do we expand our fleet. How do we serve our customer better? And I think, there's definitely been a lot of opportunities for, growing the business over this coming period.
Let me get into some specifics. Capacity additions, network expansions. You announced on Monday, just before the Air Cargo Europe, additional capacity. In the next 10 years, you are going to have double the capacity. Take us through some of the important details about capacity additions that is coming up in the next 10 years.
I think, Reji, obviously, this is a plan that we've been looking at in far more greater detail. This has not just sort of sprung in the last minute. There's been a lot of in-depth sort of analysis to understand exactly not just, the small short-term impact, but let's look at the medium to long-term benefit and opportunity that exists. And based on that, of course, we've mapped out exactly what is it that required in terms of, additional freighter capacity that we will have. Of course, not to mention, the additional capacity that we will have on the belly. That remains to be almost 70% of our capacity that we provide today. And of course, with the new generation sort of aircraft that we will have on the passenger side of the business, the 350s, the 777X, which is almost like a mini freighter, if you like. And then to complement that with the additional freighter that we will have, definitely a substantial capacity that will grow and almost double what we have today over the next decade. Now, with that said, of course, we have already placed an order for 7 brand new 777s, 2 of which we have already received. We have still 5 more coming in the pipeline. We're going to start receiving those 777s hopefully next year and the year after. And of course, in addition to that, we've had the conversion of the 10 aircraft that we have. And I think in a way, we've been quite lucky. As you know, we have the largest stock feed of the 777 300, and I think that just gives us huge opportunity for us to reutilize this aircraft in a much better way as it sort of exits its passenger life. And with that, of course, we have already signed up with IAI to sort of convert almost 10 passenger aircraft into a full-fledged freighter operation. So with all of that coming in the pipeline, obviously it just creates key sort of capacity that we would require over the coming period to address, the key production market while we continue to grow our passenger network.
Let me make myself clear. So you have the 5 777s that are coming in 2024 and 2025.
Correct.
Are they on schedule as per the announcement that was made earlier?
Absolutely. I think, the 777Fs are definitely on time. As I said, we've already received the 2 that we've ordered, and then the 5 are coming definitely on time.
And you said all your feedstock is coming from Emirates, the 777-300ER.
Correct. I think the conversion is definitely coming from the ER passenger aircraft, which we've just signed up last year with the IAI.
And do you have the conversion slots booked for all of those 10 777-300ER, and it's all with the IAI?
Yeah, of course, there's no question that, the conversion of this size of aircraft is a challenging project. It's a huge project in its own merit. And of course, we're working with the conversion sort of operate manufacturers to be able to sort of make sure that all of that gets delivered, hopefully in time. But of course, we've seen some delay in that respect. But I believe hopefully next year, 2024, we're going to start injecting some of these aircraft for the conversion.
Do you expect, you also have an MRO facility coming up in Dubai. Do you expect some of the conversion to be taking place in Dubai?
Well, I mean, definitely. I think, at the moment we've tied up with IAI as the main provider for the conversion. But as you know, I mean, we're definitely expanding our facility in Dubai. And of course, we will always look at the option, evaluate our option at the time to see whether it's feasible for us to even have our own conversion plans.
You announced wet leasing two 747. You had been operating 747 a few years back. What made you the choice for 747, and when do you expect to have them in your fleet?
To be honest, Reji, I think, what we've seen is that, there's definitely, we're seeing a potential demand growing for the next half of the year. Recently, I think it's interesting that, we've managed to sort of sign up a few contracts on a long-term basis, which is quite interesting at a time when everybody's talking doom and gloom. But I still believe that there is a huge potential and demand growth probably that's going to sort of come in the next half of the year. We should not forget that. I mean, today, with a lot of industries, there's still a huge lag in terms of, the supply chain and commodity that's probably needed in the market. You look at the automotive today, I mean, if you want to go and buy a car today, it'll probably take you 6 months to a year to wait for a car delivery. That just tells you that there's so many sort of commodities out there where supply chain is still lagging because of the pandemic, because of what happened. And I believe a lot of that will start to come out probably over the next half of the year, as now China back again in production. And of course, the fact that the whole entire Southeast Asia has also start to kick in terms of production. With all of that, I honestly believe that I think the second half probably we will see some interesting potential demand that we would like to sort of cater for. And I believe that this demand should hopefully continue to grow.
747, when do you expect to have them in your fleet?
We already have the first one join the fleet actually beginning of this month. And the second one hopefully will happen hopefully toward the end of the month. So, we're getting both of them simultaneously. Of course, this is a short-term lease to bridge the gap for us until we get our brand new 777s, hopefully starting next year.
And where do you intend to deploy them?
Well, of course, we've got a massive network. And at the moment, I believe we will be probably looking at Chicago and maybe additional flights into Hong Kong. But of course, we still have various options. I mean, the first one has already been deployed to these two destinations. But of course, the latter one, we're looking at still examining a few options. We have a couple of options that we need to look at in terms of the destinations that we're going to operate, the rotation. But they all look promising and quite solid.
Nabil, what gives you that confidence for Emirates SkyCargo when the word that just come out in the press release was that when the world hesitates, the rest of the air freight industry hesitates, we take the lead to order or wet lease new freighters. What gives you the confidence?
Well, I mean, to be honest, of course, one of the unique probably proposition about what we offer is the network. And of course, Emirates as an operator, we are all wide-body aircraft. We don't have smaller aircraft into anywhere in the world. And I think that gives us huge advantage into sort of operating to a lot of, key metropole cities, secondary cities, key production markets. So the spread that we have across the globe is honestly second to none in terms of the capacity we provide with high number of frequency into some of these destinations almost on a daily basis. And that just gives us an opportunity to sort of really expand our reach across the globe. And therefore, for us, if one market or one region is not doing well, there are probably a lot of other regions that are fully activated and probably, need that demand. And we've seen that happen across the globe so many times. We've been through these sort of up and down economical cycles. We're very familiar with it. We understand how to deal with it. One should not lose sight of the fact that, just because there's a small economical downturn, the whole world will cease. We've seen it historically over the last 10 years, and probably most likely looking at 10 years ahead, there will always be a growth of at least 3.5% to 4% year on year. And I think, to me, making sure that you're geared up, you've got the right capacity readily available to deal with the market when the tide turns is so critical. From our perspective, we should not get distracted with these smaller blips. We should look at the, as I said, medium to long term that we've been focused on.
Are you looking at the new production freighters, A350, 777-8 freighter? Are you considering any one of them?
Of course. I mean, we're engaged with Airbus. We've engaged with Boeing to sort of, look at all the details, the capabilities that this aircraft would provide. And of course, these are all new generation aircraft that we're very keen to sort of look at very seriously. It's always good to have, the mix between the conversion, new generation aircraft and some of the existing 777s that we already have acquired. So, eventually you want to have a mixed fleet that gives you different capability and different reach. So, yeah, I mean, we're equally excited about the new aircraft. Of course, the cost of these aircraft it will always be a concern. And, how do you ensure that a lot of these manufacturers that we have today is able to sort of produce a freighter or an aircraft that is in line with what the market sort of expect in terms of pricing? The economics of these aircraft has to be critical and vital moving forward. And therefore, honestly, I believe the conversion probably will bridge a major gap for us over this coming period.
Tell us about some of the recent announcement of your partnership. Late last year, you announced with the United Cargo. Earlier this year, you announced with Air Canada Cargo. How significant are these partnerships to enhance the value proposition to your customers?
Well, it is quite significant, to be honest. I mean, we've had an excellent relationship and partnership with both United and Air Canada. Of course, United gives us a huge reach into domestic United States, South America, and it gives us probably the access capacity into some of our European gateway points. Similarly, Air Canada. So I believe it's a cooperation that is long awaited. We've been working very closely with both the partners to see how can we sort of benefit from each other and help each other sort of work simultaneously, of course, in terms of accessing each other's capacity.
Are you open to considering partnership with other airlines as well?
We've always been open, to be honest. As Emirates, I think we've always taken the strategy that, we're not part of any alliance. We're completely open and we're willing to work with those where we see a mutual benefit for both the parties. So we've always taken that approach, and I think that will probably continue moving forward.
What's the status of the partnership that you had announced? I think it's a few years back here and with Cargolex. Is it still operational?
Well, yeah, I mean, we continue to work with them on various routes. There is a mutual benefit. Of course, during the pandemic, it's been quite difficult really to sort of manage those kind of relationships because they've been extremely busy and full. We've been extremely busy and full. So the pandemic have kind of put a lot of the partnership on hold. Literally, I think most of the operator has been focusing mostly on internally trying to sort of manage the business when demand was literally, coming out of everyone's ear. But now that the pandemic is behind us, obviously we need to sort of re-engage and recapitalize on some of those partnerships that we've managed to build over the years.
In terms of network expansion, where do you see the growth coming in for Emirates SkyCargo that's in relation to the kind of growth that we have seen in United Arab Emirates with bilateral deals with many of the other countries?
To be honest, the opportunities are endless. I think the globe is big enough. The production that moves today around the world for supply chain and logistics is quite vast. There are so many areas today that we probably don't address or cover today. So, definitely, I think, considering some of those options, whether it be in the Americas or South America, these are all untapped potential. Yeah, I mean, we do operate a number of flights today, to some of these destinations, but I think the potential is far more bigger in some of these areas. And I think we've seen recently that, a lot of the global manufacturing companies kind of, moved out of China and into some of the key strategic areas like, Southeast Asia, West Asia, like India and of course, Bangladesh and Vietnam. And of course, we've seen a lot of movements for some of these manufacturers into South America, North Africa. So there's almost a spread of various sort of manufacturers, industries in different parts of the world, aligning our capacity to address some of these new markets where we believe the potential could grow in is absolutely critical, and it's part and parcel of our next decade sort of plan. As I said, I think, having these additional freighter will give us that flexibility to address some of these new emerging markets.
Perishables seems to be your top priority, at least from the positioning of Emirates SkyCargo here at this event in Munich. It has always been, perishable has been a huge cargo commodity for Emirates SkyCargo. Pharma and e-commerce, they are also equally important for Emirates SkyCargo. Tell us, what are the priorities besides these in terms of cargo verticals that you have?
To be honest, there are, of course, with regard to pharmaceutical and perishable, we have grown quite substantially in these two verticals. And we have kind of evolved. When you take pharma today, I think, just recently or yesterday, actually, we've announced life science as a key vertical for us that we're looking at. And of course, I mean, looking at our region, our catchment area, and working with some of our, customers over a long period of time now, we've understood and learned that, there is definitely a need to address some sort of market segments, be able to create certain solutions for very specialized movement of shipments. So, blood samples, tissue sample movement, these are all areas that we've been sort of exploring, looking at. And obviously, transporting such sensitive, highly sensitive sort of commodity would require a different set of expertise. We believe that Dubai today offers a very unique infrastructure with our facility there that is GDP compliance. And I think, we have the capability of moving some of these commodities in a much more seamless, faster way. So we've been working with a number of healthcare sort of institutions who are willing to come base themselves in Dubai and again take advantage of Emirates network and capability in fast tracking the movement of some of these testing capability for healthcare. Similarly, we've been looking at valuable as a key vertical that we've been sort of trying to expand and grow. And we believe that with the movement that we see of assets across the globe, I think Dubai becoming quite attractive in all aspects in terms of storing expensive paintings, high value commodities. So to support that, I think having those capabilities over the coming years is going to be quite crucial, and therefore setting up specialized again product to address some of that is going to be some of the key objectives that we're going to be looking at. And so there's a whole range of product portfolio in the e-commerce that we're looking at. So there's evolving need for different types of verticals, commodities, and manufacturers sort of requirement that we're trying to sort of digest, bring on board, and obviously create the right solutions and offer it to our customers.
Dubai also is known for its multimodal logistic infrastructure. You have your own products for sea air. Is that really a growing segment for Emirates SkyCargo, sea air products?
Yeah, well, the sea air product, definitely. We've seen huge benefit and growth in that specific vertical during the pandemic. And of course, especially when the maritime had a lot of challenges trying to sort of get a lot of commodities from, Asia, China into US and Europe. I think there's no way that you could have had enough airlift capacity available in the market to address the market demand. So we've activated, obviously, our sea air product in a much larger way, and we've managed to bring in almost these larger quantity into Dubai and then air freight it from Dubai with, much bigger capacity out of Dubai that we had. So, yeah, it has grown substantially. We've seen that we could sort of move the needle on that. And I think moving forward, clearly there are opportunities for offering almost a medium range type product that allows you to get the product from A to B within almost half of the period at a much more competitive price. So I believe there is a room probably for a product of such sort of character to be able to sort of really attract certain commodities. So where, sea air or the sea freight might not be the option, air freight might not be the option, but the combination of both could be the right solution for those type of commodities. So, yeah, it's going to be, I think, a growing sector, and we're looking at it very seriously.
Nabil, as always, it's such a delight to have this conversation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Reji. Thank you. Appreciate the time.